Welcome back to the San Diego Opera podcast. My guest today is the other half of the one character in As One, Hannah After, and it's mezzo-soprano Blythe Gaissert. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Tell me about this character. I'm first of all, I'm fascinated by this piece. I've come to a couple of rehearsals. The music is fascinating, and just as a theater piece, it seems like a real challenge for the two of you to play. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, what's really interesting is that when I actually became a part of the piece when it was being workshopped. So I was sort of a part of it from the very beginning and saw it being born, so to speak. I was working with a different baritone at the time, but Kelly came on so early in the process and did the premiere that we've known each other a long time, so we've been able to have a rapport the whole time. So something that seemed in theory to me to be very daunting ended up actually not being as difficult as I thought it would be. It is a challenge. It's not a challenge being the same person so much as it is being on stage for that long without a break.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah,
That's
no.
right.
So
that's what, 84 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're singing.
Yeah, I mean, when you're not, you're there, you're present. You're
engaged,
present.
Right.
So,
right.
So that part I find to be more of a challenge. I guess challenge makes it sound like something negative, I suppose, but I find it interesting and different to be another part of the same person, but not difficult. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I think that does. Yeah, I was talking with Kelly about this yesterday and asking him about where do you find that character in your experience when you're not a transgender person,
right?
But every human being shares
exactly
moments of transition, right?
I mean, we all have those feelings of feeling like you don't fit in, that you are not like others, and as an artist, I certainly as a young person growing up in the South, in a small town, I definitely felt, like I was something other.
Yeah, sure.
Clearly not in the same way, but I feel like that is the bridge, and that is the bridge for all of us, to be able to find common ground with someone that's not like us in some way.
Right, right.
There's shared feelings.
Have you, one of the things that I hope about this piece, as our audience experiences it, is that they come away not only having had a terrific theatrical and musical experience, but also having language so that they can talk about the experience that is the transgender transition. Have you experienced that in working with the piece a number of times?
I have, actually. And I can't say that, in the beginning, I actually had known some trans people that I wasn't aware were trans.
Isn't that interesting?
And then, but I actually became so much more aware and sensitive to the, obviously, I mean, you can't help but be, it's like anything else. The more knowledge you have of it, and the more understanding, it's like, you can, so much more sensitive and empathetic you can be to what they have to live with.
And what a great thing that theater and opera can do for folks to bring them closer to that experience.
It really, I mean, in my experiences doing this, it's really life-changing. I see people after the productions, ranging from, trans people that come to see the show and, just like feeling like, here's someone telling my story, or something that, so that people can identify with me. And then also people who, would be completely intimidated normally by talking about the subject, and they come to see the show and they go, oh, wait a minute, this is something I actually do kind of understand on some level, and we're human, and that because it triggers something and they feel something, it changes them in some sort of way. Even if they don't totally understand it right away,
Right.
they will say that.
Right. Yeah. Musically, it's a really interesting piece. First of all, I saw it. I guess I'm repeating myself a little bit from yesterday's podcast, but I saw it in Long Beach earlier this season, and my overall feeling about it was that the vocal lines are very lyrical and move like this, like a traditional vocal line, and in the string quartet, there's some rhythmic stuff and heniolas and things that are going on that are just, oh my God, how do you make that all work?
You know what's actually, it's deceptive. It sounds like the vocal line is really traditionally written, but it's not.
No.
And, you know, there are some things about it that I remember even just like when we first got some of the music for the workshop, listening to the MIDI files and, you know, being like, oh, okay. And then when I actually like started looking at it and singing it, I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's not what that sounds like. That, whoa. But particularly for Kelly, I know there are some sections that are really difficult, and there's one or two sections that I think for me are also very challenging. Harmonically and also vocally because of some leaps and, you know, sitting in certain parts of the range that are a challenge.
Right.
But I feel like are exactly right because they create that sort of either sort of tension or energy that's necessary for what's going on in the story.
It would have been, I was just flashing on this as we were talking, it would be a totally different piece if Laura had chosen to set it for soprano and tenor.
Right.
I think these colors
Right.
are also just right, aren't they?
Yeah, there's something to that. Yeah, there's something a little more grounded about it, I guess. And neutral in a way. Like, because you're kind of in between, you know, you're not, as a mezzo and as a baritone, you're in between, like, kind of other extremes.
Right,
So,
right. And it's a little bit of a play, I guess, on the mezzo-soprano's ability to do trouser rolls.
Yeah,
So there's
sure.
that whole gender play
Sure.
thing going on, I suppose. But I hadn't thought of that until we were talking, that those colors really fit.
I don't want to speak for her, but I think that I think I remember her saying something about she just likes baritones and mezzos too.
So there's nothing fancy about it or mysterious. Okay. You do a lot of new music.
I do.
That must keep you engaged
I like it.
constantly as a singer.
I mean, I love singing standard repertoire, and, you know, I mean, you give me a piece of Strauss any day, I love it. I love it. But there's something about new music for me, always has been, since I was given my first assignment as a student at the Aspen Music Festival. There's something, because there's no precedent, because I'm able to make it really mine. Usually it's written more like a play, and I come from a theater background, so you know, it's more of a through composed, you know, as far as the text is concerned, less repetition,
right,
and more immediate, more emotionally immediate. So for me, those things really speak, and I kind of like the challenge. I think it's like some people like Sudoku, like I like figuring out modern music.
Well, then, do you see being at the forefront of that edge of new music in opera and in music theater? Do you see a vibrant future for opera?
I do. I think it's changing, and I say that cautiously because I believe that there is always going to be a place for traditional, you know, productions of classic repertoire.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel like in order to sort of revitalize things, you know, it's like you like anything else that's an art form. It's not that there's anything taken away from what was before, but if you allow things to kind of evolve, then it actually kind of can reinvigorate everything. So, you know, and it certainly can bring in a different audience to people that maybe are a little intimidated by something that they have a preconceived idea about.
Right.
So, you know, some of the stories that are a little more, you know, in some people's minds, current, although I find many stories from the classic repertoire are just as easily understood in today's terms.
Sure. Sure.
You know, certainly current events, you know, that are being brought into new opera are helpful in that
Well,
capacity.
and I think As One
Yes.
is a perfect step in that direction,
I
which
know,
is
and
really,
it happened
really exciting.
at exactly that time when that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember getting the call to come in and work on the workshop, and we were talking about it, and Charles said, I really think that some stuff's about to happen. And boy, did it ever
It did.
within like a few months, which is like needed to happen.
That's
So,
great.
yeah.
Well, Blythe, looking very much forward to
you.
seeing you on stage and getting to know you a little better. And again, welcome to San Diego.
Thank you so much.
Good to have
Thanks.
you here.
Thank you.